Oh, that's disgusting. I like this a lot. It's obviously it's a funny gag. It's cool. I really like the animation on the boogers. I don't know how you did that, but it's awesome. Um, I I think you could use better framing. Like for instance, like he's just sitting there picking his nose, but then I don't really get the idea as to like why like what's getting his attention? Is his name being called? Or like I think it could really help if we had something else going on. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think it works really well, but I'm always looking at ways of taking the idea further. And I think that it's always nice, like if we could have tied it into the fact that like I like this cool, interesting idea of the waiting room, but like maybe a couple more props to show that he's waiting for his turn to audition. Maybe I don't know. There's something that it's a private moment that gets interrupted, but I don't really complete, like I feel like there's a missed opportunity as to how you tying in why and who is interrupting him. Other little things like I'm being picky, but like he's rubbing his knees, and there's very little interplay of that pressure on the knees on the legs. This, if anything, it's interesting that there is a little bit of movement on the left leg, but it's kind of doing the counter to what I would kind of almost hope for. It moves up. Where like I would have been like when someone's rubbing these a little bit like this, I kind of feel like they would splay out a little bit, like have some sort of physical relationship and interaction between the hands and the knees. It's not enough that they're like I see that you're handling the contact really nicely. This is actually way better than I'm used to seeing. Where like the way that the hand is cupping around the knee, that's great. But don't forget that there's some weight and friction on there, and what would that do to the leg? It's not enough that the hand is wrapping around the leg nicely. It's also, I should feel like there's some give and take there. There's a lot of upper body movement here on all this acting, and there's just nothing going on down here. So the character just looks like a statue from the waist down. Never a good idea. It's always nice to make sure that you playing up the whole, like if the shot shows the whole body, use the whole body. Use it all. Don't for a second get lazy and be like, well, whatever, all the attention is up there. Even if it's moving just a little bit is enough to make that character feel like it's a real live character in front of us, suspending disbelief to the audience, as opposed to being like distracted by the fact that the body just turned off. So, something to think about there too. Nice work though, I really like it. Boogers are really good. It gets full points for boogers. Full points. Full points for boogers. Okay, so I think I get the basic idea here. Not really feeling the audition part. I just feel like someone's nervous and they do something. Like I don't feel like the before and the after. Like the one that we talked about a little while ago was great because there was like the actor came on, this nervous personality, and then they kind of the way that would have made that other one that I'm referencing right now even better is if we saw a stronger difference. Like it would have been cool if he almost turned a switch on and became the macho cowboy, and then like shot the coin and then turned that back off and became like this shy sort of person and wander off again. It sort of immediately jumped to that as soon as the coin toss happened in the shooting. But that being said, it was still awesome. There's none of that here. It's just sort of like a person who's sort of nervous walking up to the camera, kind of trying to swagger, and then just sort of tips the hat and then you're done. There's like no story here, not that I can detect. So it's therefore not really all that interesting. The other thing I would say here is that the body mechanics, or like the animation, there's a lot of pops on the hip. Check for your arcs and make sure that your spacing is good, because there's some moments where there's some jitters and pops. So just pay attention to those things. Okay, Same story. We've been seeing this all night, and I don't want to harp on it, but I think that what I'd love to see is some sort of story here, and there's just nothing for me to sink my teeth into. It's just somebody dancing. It's like, what you had an idea of what a cowboy would do when they're dancing. It's some sort of image of that in your head, and you're trying to do it for us here, which can be entertaining, but there's like, without any kind of character story or any kind of like stakes or kind of a motivation or agenda, it loses, like, I'm just watching someone move around and doing funny things, which is not terrible, but you can get more, there's potential for more there, is like when you see someone nervously walk onto the camera and then do a performance and then nervously walk off. We get that there's an actual story there that lies beyond what we're seeing. Here, it's just like, you know, it's interesting, like the way I can kind of be interested in watching a clown do something for a while, but eventually I'm going to tire of that because it's just a clown doing silly things and falling and tripping, and like it gets old. I also am really not a big fan of that last pose. The last pose, I mean, it feels like there's some really great posing in this, but then you decide to end in a very static looking pose here. And I mean, it almost feels like it's supposed to be a punchline, but it doesn't come off like a punchline in my mind. So I feel like, again, it comes back to story, right? There's really, I don't know why he dances and then decides to pull out the guns. There's no real connection there. I don't get it. I don't see the motivation or the agenda there. And the pose itself, I feel like just could have been a bit better. It feels very front on, and there's nothing really interesting about it. Like, it almost feels like the two arms are a bit, kind of twinning a little bit. Right here, there's just kind of this pure twinning, they're doing the same thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like the dancing and stuff is pretty cool though. Like, there's some good stuff going on there. I feel like these little chicken moves up here, something is bugging me about how the arms are moving so much, but I don't feel like the upper body and the head are supporting those actions so much, because they're moving a lot, and I feel like there's something missing to tie that body, those arms back into the body in some way. Something to think about.